So it's 2020. There's been a global pandemic. Jobs, not what they used to be. You're thinking to yourself, what can I do to improve my situation? And software development is a great place to be. If you think about it right now, a software developer, they can work from anywhere. You're not limited to an industry or a location. What company does not have software that they're using? What company does not have applications that they're running, stuff that they use to run their business, stuff for the customer, stuff for the employees? Everyone has software. The world runs on software now. So how do you change your circumstances and get into software? Well, let's talk about that. I'm going to guess that you don't have a college degree in software development. I'm going to guess that you don't have a computer science degree. And honestly, even Google now at this point has said a degree is not required. There are still places that want you to have a degree. There are places that are a little more lenient where they'll say a degree or equivalent experience. And that doesn't mean you're out of the picture. There's a lot of places that will still hire you without a degree. So what do you need to know to be able to get that software development job? And how do you go about doing it? There's essentially two possibilities for you. And in the end, they're both kind of the same possibility. So possibility one, you go to a boot camp. There's a lot of boot camps out there. Lambda School is very popular. But if you do a search for software development boot camp in the name of your city, there's likely to be a half a dozen in your city. Now, a boot camp is going to take you through, they'll generally have some courses. For instance, if you go on Lambda Schools, right at the front in the courses, you'll see two basic areas that you can go through. You can go through data science, or you can go through full stack development. So those are going to run, some of them will be as short as like 6 weeks. Some of them will be like 6 months, depending on the school that you go to and what all they're going to cover. The thing about, or the thing to remember about a boot camp, a software boot camp does not teach you how to code. What they're going to teach you is they're going to go over, this is a string. This is what a string does. This is an array. This is what an array does. And then they're going to give you an assignment, and it's up to you and go and build that thing, right? So you still have to be the one to put that all together. Now, some people learn better through an explanation. I've taken a lot of online courses to learn new things, and having somebody explain something to you can be a valuable thing. And if that's how you like to learn, then that is a good route to go. Now, the other option, and I'm going to explain why this is actually very similar to a boot camp, is being a self-taught developer. Now, I'm a self-taught developer. I taught myself how to code back in 2003, and I've been a developer for 17 years. Never once have I lost a job or not gotten a job because I didn't have a degree, or because I didn't have a certificate, or because I didn't have anything. I was able to prove that I could do the job, and I always got hired. So what does being self-taught look like? Well, here's how I went about it. In 2002, 2003, or sometime around there, I decided, because the web was up and coming, a lot of stuff had websites, and I said, you know what? Our church needs a website. We had a directory in our church, and they would print it out and pass one out, like, I don't know, every 6 months, something like that. And I said, there should be a better way to do this, right? Other places have websites. We can have a website. So without knowing anything about software development, without having any experience, I bought a book, big fat book about PHP and MySQL. And I opened up TextPad, which is basically a slightly better version of Notepad. And I got to coding. And so here's the key to teaching yourself how to code. Find something that you want to build. Are you on Twitter? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Instagram? Rebuild one of those. Find something that you like, that you're interested in. Now, you don't have to build the complete feature set that they have, right? Let's say you want to rebuild Facebook. So think about what you need to do that. You need a user account. You need a way to mark friends. You need a way to upload pictures or text. And you can even forego the pictures for the time being. And if you want, you can try to put a chat client in there. So here you have 4 features of a website that you want to build. Find out how to build that feature. The biggest key to software development is being able to find out how to do something. There's a lot of things that I've been asked to do over the years that I didn't know how to do, that I had never done. But when they said, hey, can you do this? My answer was always yes, because I had always figured it out before and I knew I could do this one. The first time I built an iPhone application, I had only done web work. And they said, hey, we need an iPhone and an Android application. And you know what? 2 months later, we had an iPhone and Android application. Once you've learned that first language, finding out these other things does become easier. But learning that first language doesn't have to be hard as long as you have a goal in mind, right? That's why I say take something and build that. Now, a lot of people do ask, well, what do I build? And that's again where I come back to the first thing you build should be something that you're interested in and something that will keep you motivated, right? If you're like, oh, I'm gonna build a ticket tracking system because I saw something that somebody said, hey, if you build this, you'll get a job. If you don't care about a ticket tracking system, if that is a boring thing to you, you're probably not going to make it through that project. You're probably not going to learn what you're going to need to do, and you're probably going to give up. So what you have to do is you have to find something that you're interested in and build that. There's all kinds of things on the internet. You could look up, like, choose the language you want to start with. Let's talk about that. What language do you want to start with? On the front end, JavaScript is everywhere. And with Node.js, you can write JavaScript on the back end. So Node can be a great starting point. There's a lot of jobs for Node right now. I've done a little bit of Node, but I do mostly .NET and a lot of Python. But your first language doesn't matter that much. My first language was PHP. I still actually get work on the side doing PHP, even though it's not my primary job. Most of my job right now is .NET and Python, but I still write Node applications. I write PHP applications. So what you start with first doesn't matter. What you start with first just gets you in the door, right? So let's start, take your Node as your starting point. You're gonna learn JavaScript, which means you're gonna know front end, which means you're gonna know back end. And say, okay, this is what I wanna build. Any development that's on the web, you're probably going to need to know HTML and CSS. I would not say to focus on that. I would say initially learn as much HTML and CSS as you need to get by. You don't need to be a master at HTML and CSS right off the bat. In fact, you don't need to be a master at any of this right off the bat. There was somebody who was recently asking online, they were in IT, but they were doing network support. And he said, hey, I really want to move to a job in software development. What do I do? And my advice to him was find out something your work needs right now and write a simple utility for them. Write something to solve a problem. In fact, if you have a problem in your life right now and you can write something that could fix that, write that. That is motivation and drive that can carry you through a project. If you're like, this is something I need or something that I'm passionate about, that can carry you through the times when you're banging your head on the desk because something does not work. So circling back around after my off trackness, find the feature set that you want to build, figure out how to build that feature, figure out how to build the next feature. So you're going to start with, like, let's go back to our Facebook example. You need a user account to do anything. You can't post if you don't have a user account. So figure out, how do I build a user account? Then, how do I post an update? There's so many tutorials. There's so many things online that you can find about that. You won't have problems. All you do, like, we'll pull up an example here. Let's say back when I started, I said, hey, I want to build a user login system and I'm using PHP. How do I do that? So let's do a quick search here. Now, you can see there's a ton of PHP tutorials online. So let's just take the first one. Even if you don't completely understand what this is, if you can make your project work, as you go through this, you're going to begin to understand more and more. Now, it's not a bad idea to go through a primer of something to get yourself used to the language. To do that, you can check out a Udemy course. You can go to codeacademy.com. They have a lot of simple courses that'll get you started on a lot of things. Or you can just look up some tutorials. Do getting started in Node.js. You'll find some tutorials that'll get you started on it. For the front end, initially keep it as simple as possible. After you build your first version, maybe look at rebuilding the front end of it in something like a React.js or an Angular. Probably a React is going to be easier to get started in, so maybe try that. Either way, whether you're self-taught or whether you go to a boot camp, you're going to have to make this stuff work. When you go to a boot camp, they're going to walk you through this stuff, but then you have to make that work. And the other thing to remember about a boot camp, and this is a decision that you're going to have to make, do I find this value? Because a boot camp, going back to our example of Lambda School doesn't cost anything up front, but for, I believe it's 3 years, once you get a development job, they're going to take a certain percentage of your paycheck. Now, the benefit to that is you do have a certificate. After you complete that, you do have at least something to show, but that doesn't mean you can't do that on your own either. So you have to weigh that balance of, do I want to pay this money to give me a boost to get started? Or do I feel like I can push this on my own, show that I can make something, and find an entry-level developer job? There are lots of entry-level developer jobs. Whatever you're in right now, try this, because here's the thing, software development is not for everyone. Now, that doesn't mean that not everyone can learn it, because I think probably everyone could learn it, but you may hate it. So let's put that out there right off the bat. You may hate software development, and that's okay. Maybe that's not the career track for you. But building that first project, that's going to show you, hey, is this something I like to do? Is this something I want to do? Now's the time to find out. We're stuck at home. We have all this time on our hands. Make use of it. Make your life better through it. If you have any questions, if you need any resources, post down in the comments. If you like the video, like and subscribe if you want. And hopefully I'll see you back. Thanks.